We're recording on Monday, March 25th, 2019, and this is an update edition of Your Daily Detroit. I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Sven Gustafson. We're sharing what to know and where to go in Metro Detroit from between 6 and 7 mile roads here in Detroit's beautiful University District.
And good sir, it is a beautiful district, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by the Rattlesnake Club. It's open for lunch, dinner, or small plates. You can enjoy views of the international skyline and the Detroit Riverwalk. The Rattlesnake features a seasonal menu of locally sourced ingredients, daily happy hour specials, and an award-winning wine list. Make your reservation today at rattlesnakedetroit.com, and I can personally say try the cheesecake.
Let's talk about hotels, shall we? There are a bunch of boutique hotels coming to Detroit. The Mid on Woodward, just north of Mac, will be a big luxury development. It'll include a boutique hotel, retail space, condominiums, multifamily housing, and co-living housing. Jer, what's co-living housing mean?
Well, think roommates for the sharing economy with fancier amenities. Usually everyone's working on one of those like similar goals or shared purposes.
Like Uber?
Kind of like Uber for housing, but like you live there.
No, I mean, they drive Uber.
Oh, well, whatever their shared purpose is, they're together with it. And I mean, I know some people who would be really into it, but I just got to say, as someone in my 30s, it sounds absolutely terrible.
It sounds very next-gen, late capitalism, income inequality type of thing.
It's like roommates, but a corporation in the middle.
Anyway, on the hotel side of the Mid, a yet-to-be-named 228-room luxury boutique hotel with a high-end restaurant is coming. There will also be a 744-space parking garage on the property. The project will cost $310 million. Construction is expected to start this summer with a planned opening date of December 2020. Next up, there are more details on West Elm, which is within walking distance of the Mid. It'll be next to the old Bonstelle Theater on Woodward. The theater itself will be part of the 12-story hotel, which will have 154 rooms. Construction there is supposed to kick off this summer as well. And then down in the Central Business District, plans call for a new 154-room hotel at 600 West Lafayette Street.
It's a lot of development with more than 500 rooms. And although it sounds like a lot, there's actually been this long-standing gap, and it's been around for years, between the number of hotel rooms that are needed for those bigger conventions, those blockbuster conventions, and, the ones you need to land those big sporting events really regularly.
Like the NCAA tournament, for example.
Yeah, stuff like that. And to get that all the time. Well, the thing is that this isn't anywhere near that gap. The only mega hotel we have, I think, is the Westin and the Rensen. We don't have huge blocks of rooms for people. The other thing about that is that all of these hotels, although the Bonstelle and the West Elm Bonstelle and the Mid are kind of near each other, 600 West Lafayette isn't. They're kind of spread out. And thing is that when people travel, they actually prefer to actually like be close to each other.
Sure. You don't have to take a cab anywhere. You can just walk out your hotel room and go right over to the convention floor. Also worth noting, the Park Avenue Hotel downtown just sold too. That's the building with the town pump in the lower
that had
floor.
the town pump. Yep. And that moved across the street, but yep.
There's no exact word on what's happening, but a rooftop bar and first floor retail are part of the plans. The buyer is a hospitality group, so that says that it very well could be a hotel of some sort. That was also affordable housing in its current and previous guise. The city is helping the tenants to relocate, but they are literally being ejected.
Well, yeah, and it was what they call naturally occurring affordable housing, which is extremely rare in the city, and especially in the downtown. Yeah, no incentives. But one of the things I've noticed a lot, though, and this is the part of the conversation online, is people somewhat kind of talked about like the whole hotel convention thing, but I also saw a lot of comments about folks that think that we need more things like a Kroger or another Meijer way before we need more hotels. And, this kind of perception that hotels miss the mark in a city that has so much need. But I'll tell you, I feel like businesses, they're pretty good at going where they see demand. And it seems like all these luxury things, they're getting filled up. Like you've got like a 98% occupancy rate in Midtown. And even though this isn't a world that I can participate in,
nor can I.
No, it's something that they're finding the need, that they keep getting these hotel rooms, these luxury developments. And if you think about things like Kroger and more pedestrian things, I've lived in 3 different Detroit neighborhoods, and I'll be honest, I've never missed Kroger. I mean, it's fine. Kroger is fine, but I'm not going to like cry the world if we don't have one.
Well, your point being that people seem fixated on getting like a national brand name grocer as opposed to like an independent small Spartan store or whatever. Is that what you mean?
Well, kind of, yeah. But I mean, there is a Meijer very near here, and Save-On is an independent. It does fine. That's nearby. I think about the Meijer concept store that's going to be opening down in Lafayette Park. There's actually plenty of like little markets that are available to do things near there. It's just that people want that brand name for whatever reason that they do. But I mean, Kroger's can be inconsistent as well. Like Kroger's look different in Birmingham than they do, say, in Oak Park.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, it's worth pointing out that there are good smaller, non-national brand name grocery stores in Detroit. Honeybee.
I lived out of Honeybee for years. It's amazing.
Yeah. And what's the other one on West Verner down in Southwest?
Prince Valley.
Well, also, is it Ryan's, the one in Mexican Town?
I think something like that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm more familiar with Prince Valley.
Yeah. But there are good markets over here on 7 Mile in Livernois, Mike's Market, Mike's Fresh Market.
For me, instead of like trying to clamor for a grocer to come down, and they will, if they see the business, they see the opportunity, they'll open. But I would like to see more stuff happening with locally owned places, crowdfunding. There's that place with the neighborhood grocer we covered recently at Davison, near the Davison.
Yep.
That's pretty exciting because that's, a black-owned grocer. And that's something that actually doesn't happen here in the city. People don't realize that the grocery stores are not owned by the majority population in this city.
Yeah, speaking of affordability, we keep seeing this word luxury attached to all these
almost
condos and new hotel projects in the city. I mean, what's going on? It's so weird to think about that in the context of Detroit, especially for the mid, right there on the corner of Mack and Woodward. That block has previously been the farthest thing from luxury in my mind.
I'll just lay it out there, and this is just anecdotal from observing what's going out there, thinking about when I stayed in Midtown, thinking about where I'm at now, thinking about the kinds of stories we cover, thinking about who we're interviewing on a regular basis. Brooklyn's moving into Detroit. Straight up. Brooklyn, Seattle, San Francisco. Folks are priced out of those areas. In fact, we've heard multiple interviews say that. And I think it's happening at a bigger rate than people want to realize. We've got a wholesale kind of like replacement of what's going on as far as population downtown. You've got tons of people who are moving back who have money. And in New York, it wouldn't be that much money to do something, $1.5 million, $2 million, because of how high the prices are and how high the cost of living is. But here in Detroit, you can go ahead and run the table with just a few $1 million. And it was funny. You know what it was telling? It was telling in that Brakeman interview. Mm-hmm. I'm not meaning to throw those guys under the bus at all, because they're doing a really interesting project. But in the context of this conversation, it was really telling how they talked about the fact that they couldn't do, it was, they literally said you don't, and this wasn't in the recording, but you and Nuri talked about it, is that you just need an idea. You don't need money to do something in Detroit. Well, to Detroiters, a couple $1 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, aside from, Brooklyn, luxury housing is just definitely a sign of the times. I mean, there's clearly a market for it, even if it's, proportionally speaking, it's a smaller proportion. But I mean, that's the sign of growing income inequality in this day and age.
Well, I wonder if part of that, though, if we think about all those homes that were built through the 50s and 60s and things like that, there was a ton of subsidy around that. You had the GI Bill, you had other stuff. I wonder if with this kind of like focus on what will the market demand as far as housing, are we getting to this point where the only thing, because I think that's a national trend too, that luxury housing is getting built across the nation. Sure. I wonder if we're just, again, in another way, like kind of like eating out the middle class.
The city of Sterling Heights has unveiled the 5 finalists for its public voting campaign to name the Golden Corridor icon. That's the new ring sculpture in the median on Hall Road, otherwise known as M59. So without further ado, here are the top 5 as chosen by the city. Can I get a drum roll, please, Mr. Drummer?
The aurum, which is the Latin word for gold and the name of the element Au, gold's chemical symbol. And I appreciate the Latin nod as someone who took a couple years of it.
Yeah, okay. Well, number 2 is the halo.
Then at number 3, there's the overture, which means an introduction or an opening. It's often used, of course, in classical music.
Coming in at number 4 is the Sun Gate. That's the name for the entrance to the ancient city of Machu Picchu high up in the Peruvian Andes. It also alludes to the ability to view the sunrise through the Golden Corridor icon when you face east toward Lake St. Clair.
So are we going to start calling M59 Machu 59 or something like that? And finally, number 5, the Standing O.
Voting is now open through a website that we'll link to in the show notes. Voting is open to anyone, but you can only make one submission per person. You can vote until midnight on March 28th. The winner will be announced the following day. The city, incidentally, said it fielded more than 18,000 suggested names from 6,000 individual submissions. And Jer, just judging by the Facebook comments, I don't know if that's a good idea or not, but
sometimes wonderful, sometimes terrible.
Yeah, well, the gist of the comments were pretty evenly split between who cares, this is a waste of taxpayer money, and number 2 being forget it, it will always be known as the golden butthole.
Yes.
I also discovered from the Facebook comments that someone is selling a golden butthole of Sterling Heights t-shirt on Amazon. It's $18.99 and it includes free shipping.
And incidentally, as was created during one of the last IT and the D shows, if you go to goldenbutthole.com, you will visit our friends at the IT and the D podcast.
Yes, I just entered it right now. It appears to be a redirect to itandthed.com. Nicely done, Bob and Dave.
A quick note that 2 Detroit bars made liquor.com's list of best places to drink around the globe. Both are in the Midtown area. The Old Miami, a bar many would consider a dive bar, was given a nod for its history and the big backyard, a place that I affectionately refer to as a dog park for humans. It's magical to have such a place in the heart of the city, and I personally have had many good times there, Sven.
Me too.
The other is on the higher end of the scale, and I do enjoy it, Grey Ghost. Liquor.com shouts out their brunch, which is truly a good choice. Been there a couple times, but it's generally out of my everyday price range, but it's definitely worth the trip.
The city of Ferndale is reminding people that its new parking prices and hours of enforcement will both increase exactly 1 week from today. On April 1st, Ferndale will flip the switch inside its control room in the basement of City Hall. Actually, I'm kidding about that, but what I'm not kidding about is hourly parking rates will double from 50 cents to $1 for all metered parking. Enforcement hours change as well. They'll extend until midnight. That's up from the current 9 p.m., although they'll start an hour later at 11 a.m. The changes apply Monday through Saturday each week. Parking continues to be free on Sundays. The city says new signage will be posted, reminding patrons of the changes. The Park Ferndale mobile app and parkferndale.com will both be updated as well. And as a courtesy, Ferndale police will issue only warning citations for parking violations during the first week. Ferndale is making the changes to offset lost revenue from the big city-owned parking lot on Troy Street. That's now a construction site for a new $28 million mixed-use parking deck called The Dot.
Sven, you're a Ferndalian. What do you think about all this as somebody who lives nearby?
Well, I understand why they're doing it. I mean, intellectually, they need to offset the money from losing, I think 160 or something spaces in that Troy Street parking lot while it's under construction for the next 12 to 15 months. Is it going to hurt Ferndale? I mean,
still nowhere near Detroit rates.
No. And I mean, even Royal Oak, I think on weekend nights, it's like $1.50 to park there. So, people will still come, people will complain. I expect to hear a lot of chorus of complaints, but it's still a relative deal. I mean, I think especially now that coming up on spring and summer, warm weather, I think that'll help. People will, hopefully be out walking more and maybe parking a little ways away and willing to make the walk a few extra blocks to get to restaurant or bars or whatever. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to have a big negative effect for the downtown businesses. You?
If you're going out to drink and you're already programming to spend 20 or 30 or $50 on dinner, another buck isn't going to change anything.
Yeah, take a lift anyway. With that, I'm Sven Gustafson. If you like what we're doing, be sure to become a member at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
And thank you to all who have. And I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.